approach. And one of the approaches called the aggregate demand and aggregate supply and the ejection slash leakage approach. So we have one, aggregate demand equals to aggregate supply, and we have the injection equals to leakage approach. So these are the two approaches for calculating the equilibrium level of national income. But the major one we are using is the what? The aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So you should know that your income here is your aggregate demand and your consumption here is your aggregate supply. Are you following? So if you have this, that means your income, which is national income, must be equal to what? The aggregate supply, which is consumption, investment, savings, and all that. Oh, sorry. This is aggregate demand, and this is aggregate supply. Sorry. All right. So since you have that, supply equals demand. And you observe that this sounds like equilibrium. Is that not equilibrium? Where you have demand equals to supply, right? Good. So this is the equilibrium level of national income. So now, from the question, you have been given the value of consumption. And what's the value of consumption? 50 plus 0.7. Why? And what's the value of investment? 45. So what do? Just substitute these values into this figure here. So my Y equals to, what's my consumption? My consumption is 50 plus 0.7 Y plus, what's my I? 45. Now, this is Y. This is Y. So what do? You collect like terms. Y minus 0.75 Y equals to 45 plus 50. So this will give me this one, Abi. So 1 minus 0.75, that should give me 0.25 Y equals to 95, right? So you are looking for your equilibrium level of national income. So you divide both sides by 0.25. Are you following? So therefore, you can now cut. So finally, your equilibrium level of national income will be 95 divided by 0.25. Just give me a minute to get my calculator. All right. Okay, so we have 95 divided by 0.25. So my answer is 380 million. So this is how you find the equilibrium level of national income. All right. Okay. All right. Let's move on. So we move on to 2006. Just the calculation and all right. Now, if the marginal propensity to consume is 0.6, so you should know marginal propensity to consume is MPC, and MPC equals to 0.6, and consumption expenditure changes by 10%. Consumption expenditure changes by 10%. Now, consumption expenditure changes, that is change in consumption, and that is 10 million. The equilibrium level of national income will change by, that will change in income to be dashed. Are you following? So, because they said equilibrium level of national income will change, and that's change in income. So you are given this. So what is NPC? Don't forget, NPC is change in consumption over change in income. Where your NPC has been given as 0.6, and your change in consumption is 10, and this is change in income. That's what we are looking for. You cross multiply. So I have 0.6 change in income equals to 10. I'm looking for my change in income, so I divide both sides by 0.6. So therefore, my change in income becomes 10 divided and that is 16.67. 16.67. Right? So this is how you look for your equilibrium level. All right. If you see a question that says, what is the meaning of price index? Price index can be given as the price of current year divided by price of base year. Okay, this is the formula for price index. Now, current year, you know what current is, that is the main year. Then base year is a previous year or a year in the past. It can be any year. It's just like it is a year of comparison. You want to compare a particular period, okay, to the current period. So that period you are taking will be called your base year. It's not, it can be 10 years ago, it can be 20 years ago, it can be 5 years ago. So that's the meaning of what? Base year. A particular time in the past that we want to use as a reference point. Okay. Now, you all know the meaning of range, the highest value minus the lowest value. Now, let's move on to the question here. Now, you were given this graph, and you are given 1, you are given 2, and you are given 3, and they gave you something like this. So they gave me this. Okay. So they call this guy K. They call this guy P. They call this guy O. And they call this guy M. This is your Y, this is your X. A movement from K to M. What does it signify? A movement from K to M. What does it signify? Now, when you are moving, this is an indifference curve. Now, an indifference curve has points, okay, whereby the consumer is indifferent. That means that any point on the indifference curve, it is yielding the same level of satisfaction. So any point on this curve is yielding the same level. So if the consumer move from K and he move to M, don't be confused. It is still the same level of satisfaction. So the question says, a movement from K to M, A, increase the price of the commodity, leave the consumer utility unchanged, decrease the consumer utility, increase the consumer utility. So the answer is what? Leave the consumer utility unchanged. So that's the answer. Okay. What if I add my own? At which point is the consumer at an optimum level? Is at optimum level at point P. Why is that the optimum level? Because that is where your indifference curve equals to your budget line. Don't forget, this is your budget line and this is your indifference curve. Okay, so where both of them are equal, as your optimum point, or you call it consumer equilibrium. Okay, good. Now I'm seeing a question here, another graph, and they give us demand, they give us supply, and they did this and they did this, they did this, this. So this is for price, this is for quantity. They call this O, P2 and P1. We call this Q3, Q1, and Q2. Now, so if you look at this question, they said the diagram shows the effect of A, maximum price legislation at P2, B, minimum price legislation at P2, excess supply over demand at Q2, excess demand over supply at Q2. What does this thing shows here? Now, anytime you have an equilibrium, this is your equilibrium point. Is that not it? This is your demand, this is your supply. Now, what this thing is showing is any price that is below the equilibrium, we call it the what? The maximum price. Okay? Just like if I draw a curve here, if I have something here, please watch this. And I call this demand for labor, supply of labor. And this here, this simply means equilibrium wage. What does this mean? Equilibrium wage. So that means that I can set a wage rate above my equilibrium and below my equilibrium. So this wage rate comes here is above, and this wage rate comes here is below. So any wage rate that is below is also called maximum wage. And any wage rate above is called minimum wage. Are you following? So your minimum wage that you've been hearing, that they've been shouting, this is the minimum wage here. It's always a price above the what? The equilibrium wage. Are you following? So that means that minimum wage, according to this law, minimum wage is not allowed to what? To drop below. It must go above. Are you following? So this is an effect of the what? Maximum price legislation. So maximum price, there is a maximum price legislation at P2. That's my answer. All right. Now, there is something we call a perfect competitive firm, which is a perfect competition, Abi. Now, a perfect competition or a perfect competitive firm can always run his or her business, but a time will come where the perfect competitive market will advise to shut down, or is not even advised, he has to shut down due to his operation. Now, how can that company shut down, or when do you know that they have to shut down? It's very simple. Now, to know when a perfect competitive market will shut down, you need to study their average variable cost. This average variable cost is a very, very key cost in your company because it controls the variable cost per unit. Are you following? Now, so let's take the option A, price is below the marginal cost. B, price is equal to marginal revenue. C, marginal revenue is equal to marginal. That is even out. That option C is your what? Profit maximization output. Then D, price is below the average variable cost. Now, your average variable cost covers your variable cost. Are you following? So when you set your price and your price is below this cost, come on now. You are setting price and the price is below the cost to incur, which is the variable cost to incur per unit. That means you are ready to go into the ditch. So at this point, anytime a business's price is below their variable cost, that firm must shut down. So that is the answer to that simple question. Now, I'm seeing another table here. Number of men. Then I'm seeing another one here. Total product. And total product is in units. The number of men ranges from 1 to 8. Then my units, we have 200, we have 440, 540, 600, 640, 660, 660 again, then 640. What is the average product when 3 men are employed? What is the average product? So we are looking for average product when 3 men are employed. So where is the number of men? This is the number of men here, 3. So what's the formula for average product? Average product is total product over quantity. I mean, since it's talking about men, you just say labor because men here are the laborers, and labor can also be called the variable factor. Now, so what is the total product at the third number of men? See, total product is here 540 divided by 3, and the answer is what? 240. Is it 200? No, this is 1, 2, 8, so 180 units. All right, that's 180 units. Now, they now ask another question again. If the price per unit is 2 naira, price equals to 2 naira. He said, if the price per unit is 2 naira, what is the average revenue when 6 men are employed? What is the average revenue of 6 men? They give us the price. So first things first, you need to know your average revenue formula. And average revenue means total revenue divided by quantity. Now, is total revenue in the question? No. But they give us a helping hand. They give us price. So we need to calculate total revenue. And formula is what? Price times quantity. Are you following? So divided by Q. So what is my price? My price is 2 naira. Don't forget, they gave us the 6 men, Abby. So where is it? 6 men. So price times quantity. So 2 times quantity. What's the quantity there? At the 6 men. 6 men is what? 660. So 2 times 660, right? Then divided by your quantity. And what's your quantity? Average revenue. Your quantity will be here, 660. So we have 2 times 660. 1320. Then you divide by 660. Hold on. I think I've made a little bit of a mistake here. So the average revenue when 6 men are employed. So total revenue multiplied by quantity. Okay. All right, all right, all right. So price times quantity, which is 2 naira, times what's the quantity? 660. All right. Now, don't forget, they said when 6 men are employed, so you have to divide by 6, not, you are divided by labor. Okay, you are divided by labor. All right. So that's the idea. So I believe 6 here, 6 here is 110. So 110, that's what? 220. So this is my answer. All right. So you can see that most of the time, you just need to be very, very careful at times when you are going through your questions. Because the question specifically said when 6 men are employed. So you are going to divide by what? By labor, not quantity. Okay? And the labor is the men. All right. So let's move on to 2007. And I'm seeing a question here, question 11, where price equals to this. They now ask, what is the quantity supplied when price is 9 naira? So they want us to find QS when this guy is what? 9. So anywhere you see price, you put what? 9. Is that not it? So this is 1/2. Open your bracket, put your QS plus 15. So we all know that everything here is divided by 2. So 9 equals to QS plus 15 divided by 2. Make this over 1 and you cross multiply. 9 times 2 will give me 18. I have QS plus 15. So carry this one here. 18 minus 15 equals QS. And QS equals to 3. So the answer is 3 units. Are you following? So this is how you apply a question like this. Now, question 17. Number of workers. And you are given total output. They gave you 1 to 6. They gave you 39, 52, 60, 66, 66, 63. And you were told to find the marginal productivity when number of workers increased from 2 to 3 from here. Okay? Find the marginal productivity. So marginal productivity is still the same thing as what? MP. And MP is change in TP over change in labor. Don't forget, workers' labor. Okay? Now, they say when it moves from 2 to 3. So change in TP should be what? 60 minus 52 divided by 3 minus 2, which is 1. So 60 minus 52 should be what? 8. So MP there is what? 8 naira. 8 naira. 8 naira. 8 kg is given in kilogram. The total output is in kilogram. 8 kg. All right. Now, they said the maximum number of workers that should be hired is, what's the maximum number of workers that should be hired? Hello? We have workers here and we have total output here. Now, look at the total output. You have 66 here, you have 66 here, and you have 63. Now, for you to know the maximum number of workers that can be hired, you have to be very, very well careful. Because look at this guy. It should be between 4 and 5. Now, when the fourth guy was employed, look at the total output, 66. When the fifth guy is employed, look at his output, 66 again. But when the sixth guy is employed, the output decrease. So the firm will not want what? To employ the additional person here because he have seen that his output will what? Decrease. So now it's now to select between what? 4 and 5. So how do you select between 4 and 5? Now, between 4 and 5, you need to what? Learn, or you need to know their marginal productivity. At this level, we have 39. At this level, this minus this, that's 52 minus 39. The reason why I'm doing this is because in my workers, the marginal productivity of workers here, between them is just 1. So that's why I'm not 52 minus 39 is 13. This one, we don't really place emphasis here. Now, 60 minus 52, that's 8. This 6, right? This 0, and this what? Minus 3. All right. So, take the question again. It said, the maximum number of workers that should be hired. So, what is the maximum number of workers that should be hired? Should we employ 3 laborers, 4 laborers, 5 laborers, or 6 laborers? Now, if you take number 6, I told you number 6 is out, okay? Because even if you look at your MP, it's minus 3, so you can't take that. Now, look at this number 5. Now, some of you say, this thing is high now, 66, but check your marginal productivity, 0. You will not pick that guy. Now, someone will move to this 66. This one is good now. It's high. But look at the marginal productivity. It's 6. Are you following? So the person will not also pick that guy. So therefore, the person can only pick. Look at where the marginal productivity is high. Where is it? I told you the first one, we don't make reference to that. So let me just clean that 39 from there. So, here is 13. Here is what? 8. Here is 6. Okay. So which one are you picking? You have to pick what? 2, because 2 will give you the highest marginal productivity. So the answer is what? 2. So you don't pick anything higher than 2. Okay? Because if you look at 2, 2 is giving you 13. So that's what you pick. You can only hire what? 2 workers. 2 workers. So this is how some of the questions are. You have to be very, very careful before you answer some of these questions. Now, they gave another question like this. This is graph. The graph questions are very easy. Once you can calm down and just understand their concept. That's why I'm taking time now to just do some questions on it so you know how they can appear. So they call this guy X. They call this guy Y. They now ask, the diagram above shows a firm operating under the monopolistic competition. Oh, they even tried. They even told us it's a monopolistic competition. So that means that is a what? That is a hint for us. They say the curve W represents dash. What is the W curve? A, marginal revenue. B, marginal cost. C, average cost. D, average revenue. I told you something. In market structure, if you look at the imperfect market structure, we have what we call the monopoly, and you have the monopolistic competition. Now, between monopoly and monopolistic competition, they behave in the same way. Are you following? They kind of have the same, characteristics. So therefore, this thing here can also be drawn to for a monopoly. Are you following? So the curves are the same for a monopoly. Now, if you check this guy, for a monopoly too, they have this curve. If you check this guy, for a monopoly too, they have it. So this W actually is your what? Average revenue. And this average revenue can also represent their demand curve. And this M here is your marginal revenue. Are you following? So the answer is what? Average revenue. And it's also their demand curve. Okay? All right. So we are moving. We are moving. We are moving speedily to cover much calculation and graph. Now, so I'm in 2008 now. Okay. If 100 units, this is question 8. 100 units and 120 units of commodity X, okay, are supplied at 18 naira. So this and this are supplied at 18 naira at different times. It means that there is a dash. A, change in supply. B, change in quantity supply. C, an increase in quantity supply. D, a decrease in quantity supply. Now, watch this. You will observe that quantity is changing, but the price is constant. So anytime price is constant, there should be only one location that your mind must go to. And that is what? A shift in the demand curve. Shift in the demand curve. Or you can call it change in demand. You can see that it's also the same thing for supply. Okay, demand and supply, they just have a little bit of, it's just like opposite word and what opposite. So if it is the same scenario too for supply, you just say shift in the supply curve, or you say change in supply. So the answer is change in supply. So thank God it was even supply they are relating to. So this is change in supply. Okay. Now, if income rises, from 2,000, so I'll use Y for income. So they give us the income, it rises from 2,000 to 4,000. They now said the quantity demanded increases. So quantity demanded, QD, it increases from 80 to 20. They now say find the income elasticity. So income elasticity of demand, I'm going to be using the point formula, which is change in Q over change in Y times Y1 over Q1. Okay? All right. So change in Q, this is going to be what? The new one. No, they said the thing it increases from 80 to 120. Sorry, is 120. So this will be 120 minus 80 divided by 4,000 minus 2,000. Okay, change means new minus old. Don't forget that. Oh yeah, what's my Y1? This is my Y1, and this is my Q1. So Y1 is 2,000. What's my Q1? My Q1 is 80. So finally, I'll be having this. So finally, I'm having this. 120 minus 80 will give me 40. Divided by 4,000 minus 2,000 will give me 2,000. Times 2,000 over 8. This already goes 8 here 1, 8 here. Oh, sorry, this is 80. I'm too fast. So this here, so 4 here 1 and 2, Abby. So I have 1 over 2 and that will give me 0.5. So the answer is 0.5. All right. If the demand elasticity coefficient of cars is 0.5, it implies that demand for petrol is dash. A, elastic. B, perfectly inelastic. C, inelastic. D, perfectly elastic. Now, you need to know that anytime they say the demand elasticity coefficient of cars is 0.5, anytime elasticity is 0.5, you should know that it is what? Less than 1. And if it is less than 1, it is what? Inelastic. And don't forget, car and petrol, they are joint commodity, or it is what? A joint demand. You can't demand for a car and not demand for petrol, except if you want to use water. So, car and petrol, they are joint. So, if the demand for this car is inelastic, according to the question, definitely the demand for petrol also will what? Inelastic. Is that not it? So, therefore, my answer should be what? Inelastic. Now, as long as marginal utility is positive, total utility must be dash. As long as marginal utility is positive, so marginal utility, you need to understand that I have here to be total utility, I have here to be average utility, and I have here to be marginal utility. So they said, as long as MU, you observe, see MU here, you can see that MU is positive in all this area. Abi now, so as MU is positive, what is happening to TU? TU is still what? Rising. Are you following? It's still what? Rising. So therefore, what meets our framework? It said total utility must be increasing. So the answer is B. Okay. All right. They gave us question 15. They said QD is 20 minus 4P. QS is 6P plus 12. Now, before you solve questions like this, I know it's very simple, just do it, get your price. Before you solve, please consider what is demand here. You know, there is a negative. So this is a normal demand. Abi, what is supply here is a positive. This is a normal supply. So you can go ahead and solve. So therefore, at equilibrium, QD must be equal to what? QS. So what's QD? 20 minus 4P, right? Equal to, what's your QS? 6P plus 12. So what are you looking for? You are looking for P. So collect like terms. 20 minus 12, 6P plus 4P. This will be 8, 10P. Divide both side by 10. Is that not it? 0.8 kobo. All right. So, but the question said determine equilibrium quantity. So you have to put this number into any of this. Okay? So let's put it there. So let me put it into QD. So my QD, let me put it here. QD is 20 minus 4. What's my P? My P is what? 0. What? 0.8. So 4 times 0.8 should give me 3.2. 4 times 0.8. Yeah, should give me 3.2. So 20 minus 3.2, that should give me 16.8. So this is the equilibrium quantity. All right. So if you put that 0.8 into this guy, you must also get the same thing. That's why we call it equilibrium. Okay. So let's be fast. Now, if price is increased to 3 naira, how much is the excess supply? Wonderful question. If price is increased to what? Price is increased to 3 naira. How much is the excess supply? Wow. Fantastic question. So what will you do here? They ask for supply, so we have no business with demand. So take your supply curve. What's your supply? 6p plus 12. Now, initially, what's the original price? 0.8, Abi. So what's the supply when the price is 0.8? We need to get that first. Before you know the SS, you must know the original. Abi? Good. So 6 times 0.8 should give me 4.2. Hope I'm right. 4.8 plus 12. And this should give me 16.8. Right? So this is the quantity supply. Is that not? So now, when they now increase the price to 3 naira, let's see how much will be the new supply now. So 6 times 3 plus 12. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 12. And this is 30. So this is the new quantity supply when the price is high. So to find the excess supply, you will say 30 minus 16.8. So your excess supply, and if you look at it, there is an excess because increase in price, increase in quantity supply. You can see why I said you should always consider if the question they've given you is a normal question. Sometimes intentionally they can give you an abnormal demand, an abnormal supply. You solve it the way you solve it, okay? But now you have to listen to the question because it is the way they ask the question, that's how you have to apply. Don't apply what you know. Okay, it's good to have a framework, like I always say. So, but you apply your framework to what is given in the what option. So 30 minus 16.8, 13.2. So 13.2 is my excess supply. All right. So let's move on to the next question. Okay, let's consider what was the demand function? 20 minus 4p, right? Now, when we say excess supply is when supply exceed demand. Okay, so that means we need to consider the demand first. Okay, so my demand is 20 minus 4p. Is that not it? Okay, now when the price has been increased to 3 naira, so look at the supply. The supply is 30, right? So the quantity demanded 4 times 3, 20 minus 12. What would that give me? That's 8, right? Good. So when we put 3 into the equation, we got 30. When we put 3 into demand, we got 8. Okay, so it should be 30 minus 8, which is what? 22. So please take note of that correction. It's not, you don't apply it to supply. You apply it to demand and supply. Okay, so take note of that correction. So you don't apply this. Okay, so you apply that price to both supply and demand. So excess supply is simply where supply exceed demand. Okay, so take that correction. Now let's move on to the next question. The next question is, I have demand, I have supply. and I have this, I have this, I have this. Okay, so this is demand, this is supply. Then my equilibrium is done with a broken line. All right. They didn't give me any price. They just say here is price. Okay. Now, in the diagram above, oh, so we have here to be 40, 30, 20, 0. Then 10 should be somewhere. They gave us 10 here. That's what. So in the diagram above, there is an excess A, demand for 30 units, B, supply for 30 units, C, demand for 20 units, D, supply of 20 units. So what do you have excess of? So consider the graph. Don't forget what we did earlier. When we say excess demand, when we say excess supply, that is supply is greater than demand. And when you say excess demand, it means demand is greater than supply. All right. So if you look at this, if your demand and your supply, so if you watch any area above, I've always told you, the area above is your excess supply, and the area below is your excess demand. Are you following? So look at it here. We have supply here to be 40, and we have demand here to be 20. So at this point, what do you have? We are having a what? A excess supply of how much? 40 minus 20. Is that not it? Because at this point, supply exceed demand. You can see. So it's just like the what problem this is, and this is the graphical illustration. So therefore, the excess supply will be what? 40 minus 20. So let's see whether that is there. So there's an excess supply of 20 units. So that's the answer. Excess supply of 20 units. 40 minus 20. So excess supply is when supply exceeds demand. So please take note of that correction. Take note of that correction. All right. So we have another thing here. And they drew one. They drew one, two, three. And they did this. And they call this place M, MC, AC, AVC, AFC. Okay? Please just don't mind the way they drew it. The most important thing is the question they want to ask us. Okay, we know how to draw it correctly, is that not it? But don't worry about that. All right. All right. So the correct drawing is this. This is the correct drawing. You know this is your MCRB. Your AFC is L. Is that not it? Like L form. Then you have this and you have this. So this is your what? ATC and this is your AVC. Are you following? So this is the correct way to draw it. So once we know that, we have this, Abi. So let's leave that. From the graph above, the point M shows that MC. What does the point M show? It shows that MCA cut AC at the minimum point. B and AC rise simultaneously. C cut AC at the maximum point. D is falling. Is falling. Now, where is it cutting AC? It is cutting AC. This M here, which is your marginal cost, is cutting AC at the minimum point. At the what? Minimum point. Any graph like this, they do not have a maximum point. It is only graph like this that have a maximum point. Are you following? Like your total utility, this is their maximum point. So if you have a curve like this, they have what? Minimum point. Okay? So take note of that. So that means that the options of maximum is not is out of it. Okay, it's very very out of it. So the answer is it's caught at the minimum point. It's caught at the minimum point. Now look at this question. If the required reserve at a bank is 20%, required reserve is 20%, and 10,000 is paid into the demand deposit account, what is the excess reserve? What is the excess reserve? So the amount deposited in the bank, so deposit is what? Is 10,000. So remember, the deposit money is what? Is equal to the amount divided by the interest rate. But in this case, they give us a what? A reserve. Abi? So we are going to say 10,000 divided by 20%. And 20% is what? 0.20. And what's the final answer? That's 10,000 divided by 0.2, which is 50,000. But now, they asked us a question. They said, I mean, 10,000, 10,000 or 1,000? Okay, 10,000 divided by 20%. Okay, 50,000. So the amount I can create is 50,000. Now, let's go back to the question. If the required reserve of a bank is 20% and 10% is paid in its demand deposit account, what is the excess reserve? What is the excess reserve? So the amount of money we can create is 50,000. Have you now? So the reserve is 20,000. The deposit is 10,000. Are you following? So since they are not asking us for the amount we can create, but they are asking us for excess reserve. So since they are asking us for excess reserve, let's just apply this according to the normal mathematics. 20 over 100 times 10,000. Okay? So that should give us what? 0 cancel 0, 0 cancel 0. Is that not it? So 20 times 100, that's 2,000. So that means that if the reserve is 20%, so this is the reserve, 20%. Now, we deposited what? 10,000. That means that the excess reserve, who can now tell me what will now be the excess reserve? What will be the excess reserve? If you have deposited 10,000 in the bank and the reserve is 20%, that means that in the bank, we can only give out how much? 8,000. Abi? So that means 2,000 is kept somewhere. Is that not it? Now, the 8,000, what is that 8,000 called? Your liquidity or ratio. But if you look at it very, very closely, our excess reserve will not be how much. So if you remove 10,000 minus 2, you will get 8,000, right? That's your liquidity ratio. So if that's liquidity ratio, so that means our reserve here will also stand for excess reserve. So the answer is 2,000. Okay, the answer is 2,000. So they didn't ask us how much we can create. I didn't mean they asked us how much money you can create from the deposit. So you can create how much? 50,000. Are you following? Okay. So let's take few more questions. Few more. Few more. So let's take this. Let's take this last one. So this last one is on population. They give us year and they give us the population and they give us working population. This is in thousands. This is also in thousands. Year 2000, 2001, 25, 30, 40, 60, 13, 19, 32, 49. Now, you were asked to calculate the population growth rate. That's PGR. So what's the population growth rate in 2003? PGR of 2003. Please, are you seeing birth rate and death rate here? No. So you have to apply that law I gave you, that formula I gave you. And what's that formula? New minus old divided by old. So you are looking for it for 2003. Population growth rate. Forget the working population. You are dealing with this guy. Okay. So this will be what? 60 minus the previous one divided by the old one, I mean, which is previous, as 100. So this is 20 over 40 times 100%. 0 cancel 0. So that is 20 times 10 over 4. 4 year 1, 4 year 5. What's the answer? The answer is 50%. Are you following? So that's all. Then the last question is the percentage of working population in 2002. The percentage of working population in 2002. So this is your 2002. The same thing, okay, in 2002. You will say 32 minus 19. So percentage of WP, working population, that will be 32 minus 19 over 19 times 100 over 1. So 32 minus 19 should give us 13. So I have 13 divided by 19 times 100. So that is 60. Hold on. Percentage of working population in 2002. So 32 minus 19. Okay. All right. This is our duster. So the percentage of working population in 2002, that is, we have the new one, which is 2002, and we have the old one, which is 19. Yes, I'm correct about that. So we are going to say 32 minus 19. Then you are dividing by 19, of course. That's the percentage. Okay. Then we multiply by 100. So, if I'm not mistaken, 32 minus 19 divided by 19 times 100. And that is 69%. 69%. 69%. Okay. So that should be the answer. So anytime you've been asked to find the percentage of the working population, so the percentage of the working population should be 32, which is this here, 32 minus 19, 32 minus 19 divided by 19 times 100. Just like the way you did the population growth rate. Are you following? All right. Okay. So that should be the answer. All right. Okay. So at this point, all I can say is to wish you the best of luck and go and ace your Jamb economics. Thank you very much.